Hi, this is Attorney Mike Grevin coming to you from Chicago, and today we're going to take a look at the movie The Judge. It's good stuff. Let's do it. Okay, so this movie was recommended for me to review, and I don't know exactly why. Maybe I'm throwing off a cynical middle-aged Chicago attorney vibe. But here we meet Hank, our big protagonist and hero, in the men's room.
Away with this! Palmer! You asshole! Hey! Stop!
Did that just happen?
You meant to do that!
Nice.
Okay, so this movie's not going to take itself too seriously. That's a good thing. And, you know, I have to say, as a Chicago attorney myself, that even in Chicago, peeing on opposing counsel is frowned upon.
And how does it feel, Hank? Knowing every person you represent is guilty. It's fine.
Yep, that's about right.
Wait. You said this wouldn't go to trial.
I'm sorry, did I say that?
I hired you to make this go away.
Wrong.
Okay, we've established she's cranky, and I can relate to a little bit too much, but it's all kind of cute.
My mom passed away this morning.
My ass.
How do we play it?
That's a bold thing to question when it's verifiable and he's got the proof in his hand.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. First time.
So off we go to southern Indiana, and this next little bit here, he runs into his brother, who's very charming in his way. They kind of cheat. He has some cognitive deficits, so you can't help but like him.
Her heart just kind of turned off.
And here we meet Hank's dad, Judge Palmer, sitting on the bench and doing his thing.
Yeah? That your new truck up front?
Which one? Yeah.
I think the judge is sort of exceeding his authority here, but the point here is that he's a tough guy.
Would you give those to Mr. Williams' ex-wife, please? Then escort Mr. Williams to his ex-truck.
I guess the idea is tough but fair. Here he is giving it to the father, and here he is giving it to the mother in a way that would never fly, at least not in this day and age.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Want me to tell you what causes that, ma'am?
So Hank is forced to spend a little time with his two brothers and his father, the judge, and the judge is very, very hard on Hank and fairly warm to his two brothers. And this next little bit just sort of demonstrates that whole thing. There's more of it, but this gets the point across.
Thanks for coming. I'm sure your mother would have appreciated it.
Here Hank goes out with his brothers, and he ends up using some of his criminal defense skills to, I suppose, disperse a fight that was starting in the bar.
Who's on parole? You guys have a low opinion of Judge Palmer? When your field officer is filling out his incident report, I'm going to be very helpful as possible.
This immediately leads into just a gratuitously awkward subplot. I think the idea here is just that they want to have Robert Downey Jr. have some love interest, so a little something for the ladies, I guess. But you'll see as this progresses, the subplot is not necessary and really awkward.
Yes.
Why don't you read my beads? Maybe I'll buy you a drink.
Well, that goes right where you think it's going to, but thankfully for us, not all the way. So just as Hank is about to escape back to Chicago, it turns out that Judge Palmer runs into a guy on a bike and kills him. And this is pretty good stuff. Hank comes back because he's a criminal defense attorney, and he's going to try to help out. But it doesn't look good up front. And as in this next clip, we see the judge just running his mouth to all the police officers that he's known for years.
Judge Palmer, Deputy Hanson.
Sir, did anybody other than you have access to your vehicle?
You've got to be shitting me.
So Hank is frustrated because he can't get his father to shut up, and he's a criminal defense attorney who knows better, but he's got a problem with his relationship with his father, so his father won't listen to him despite the fact that Hank knows what to do. And that carries into this next clip.
A firm defense. We got to get the charges dropped and make it all go away at the preliminary hearing. We never go to trial.
So the judge hires a very nice local attorney who is simply not up to the task.
It was a guilty verdict. Coach Blakely broke a clipboard over his quarterback's head during halftime at the homecoming game. Now, in his defense,
Now he gets one.
John Jr. had his helmet on.
He just keeps selling, doesn't he?
Sit down.
I enjoyed that. That was that was well done. Managing to lose that case would be a task, and we go from there to him messing up the preliminary hearing.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah. Sir, are you co-counsel?
He is not.
No.
That bit was really good, both from a movie perspective and from a law perspective. Of course, he wants to help in the worst way because he knows better than the attorney who's sitting up there handling the preliminary hearing, and he does what he can, but the judge does what a judge would do and say, why are you involved? You're not of record on this case.
Blackwell and Judge Palmer make eye contact.
And then what did Judge Palmer do?
Dropped his head.
Finally, he just can't take it anymore and loses it. Of course, he has to leave court, and the preliminary hearing goes poorly, and the case ends up getting set over for trial. And they're actually right in this. I can't show it all, but there's lots of discussion. Hey, if you would have shut your mouth and handled this properly, you probably could have gotten rid of this in preliminary hearing. I believe that's correct as a former prosecutor. Not that he wasn't guilty of it, he was, but they had evidentiary issues. Okay, awkward subplot alert. Here we have Hank getting picked up after his little bike accident by his old girlfriend who's already been introduced. She was at the funeral. And of course, she introduces him to her daughter, which is the girl that he made out with at the bar.
Carla. Well,
Observing that the attorney he hired was completely over his head at the preliminary hearing, the judge does relent and let Hank, his son, get involved in the defense of the case. In fact, he's lead counsel in the defense. We see that they also had appointed a special prosecutor played by Billy Bob Thornton, who came in from Gary, Indiana. Supposedly this is southern Indiana, that's northern Indiana. That does make a lot of sense, because any nearby prosecutor would know the judge and have a conflict, and you'd want to get somebody from another area. But this is just kind of a cute scene where they're going into court together.
Always on grass, never on pavement. Don't splash your shoes that way.
I don't know what my problem is.
Personally invested in your client, you feel the life in your hands. Both pass. Trust me.
I really like this next clip. It's Hank and how he handles voir dire. At the beginning of the trial, they're picking jurors, and it gives me a little opportunity to talk about law stuff.
Bumper stickers? Anybody got one on their car, truck, RV? Show of hands. And what do they read? Exact words, please.
it just spells out tolerance with religious symbols.
Willie Nelson for president?
Really? Does he seem a likely candidate?
They never got him on a felony.
I like the way that voir dire was handled. I've never asked about bumper stickers specifically, but I have asked about periodicals. I'm dating myself here. We used to ask what magazines and newspapers people read, but that was a while ago. But it's the same concept. You're trying to get where people are coming from. And voir dire is a long process. It really depends on the judge you're from. Different ones handle it in a different way. But this kind of gives you a flavor of it within the context of a movie, and it makes sense, and I kind of liked it. The other thing they sort of skip, well, they don't really get wrong, but they're circling the jurors they want to keep, and they're Xing the jurors they don't want to keep. It's not quite that simple. You get a couple of strikes. At least in Illinois, you get a couple of strikes as a matter of right, but anything past that, you gotta make a motion for cause. You gotta say there's a reason why you don't want that juror, and you have to give some legal basis for it. So it's not just a matter of getting a big veneer and just picking whoever you want. You get a couple of strikes. You gotta save those for the jurors you really don't want, and then you gotta make arguments on the other ones. Oh, here we are. Back to kissing the bartender's mom, and don't worry, the subplot continues and gets much, much worse. And just in case you missed the awkward, they have Hank lay it out in excruciating detail right here.
And I made out with your daughter.
Here Hank does the math and realizes, hey, I might have just made out with my daughter. Why? Why is this necessary? It's just awful. It's just awful.
June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January.
This is a charming exchange between the prosecutor and Hank, and it's really not far off from reality.
10 years, they'll do 7.
Insufficient evidence.
Offer expires when you walk out
Pack
that
it
door.
up. You want me to fly you?
I'm glad to see you're on your game.
Well, the mid-trial negotiation continues, and this sets up my favorite line for the movie.
I'll paint your father as a holier-than-thou prick determined to see what he considers justice served.
My father is a holier-than-thou prick determined to see what he considers justice served, so it's going to be a light day.
Of course, we knew they were not going to come to an agreement because this is a law movie, and we've got to have our drama during trial.
Do you think you killed him intentionally?
Yes.
The movie handles the witness testimony, questions, objections, rulings by the judge very well. I do recommend it. It's dramatic because the storyline is dramatic, but within that context, it's pretty darn good, including this. And here Billy Bob Thornton, the prosecutor, gets the defendant to say something on the stand. Any prosecutor would like to get a defendant to say on the stand, and that is that they think they did it.
What are they?
Nausea, fatigue, loss of appetite.
Delusions, fits of anger,
Yes,
depression,
yes.
memory loss?
Yeah, but
So Hank goes to redirect him and I think does the best thing you could given these facts, and it happens to be the case if you accept the facts as given in the movie are true. It appears the judge was on chemotherapy and truly does not remember the incident. And here Hank does a really good job of redirecting after that horrible testimony on direct examination. So here is sort of the big moment of the movie, and it's kind of funny because it sort of gets in the way of the trial. Not so much. Like I said, they did the law stuff pretty well, but this is sort of a side note to it. Supposedly the judge's motive for wanting to kill this guy is that he had been light on him in the past. He gave him a 30-day sentence, and then he went out and killed somebody afterwards, and he held it against him the whole time. But his response here is really just the reconnection of the family and him talking to his son, and it's sort of collateral to the trial, really, but it's central to the movie.
I looked at him and saw you.
So here we have the end of the very awkward subplot when she tells him that, in fact, it is not his daughter, Carla, the bartender that he made out with, and that's good news. But the bad news is still bad.
He who's her father?
Yeah, Glenn doesn't know.
Not my brother?
It was just...
Oh, that is just awful, and it didn't need to be. But there you have it. So he didn't make out with his daughter. He made out with his niece. Doesn't stop them from implying that he's hooking up with his ex-girlfriend at the end of the movie as well. But forget about that. Let's get back to the courtroom and the reading of the verdict.
What say you in the matter of the state of Indiana versus Joseph Palmer on the charge of murder in the first degree?
We find the defendant not guilty.
Not guilty on murder one or premeditated murder here. It does actually make sense given the facts, assuming the facts that you get from the movie.
And on the lesser included charge of voluntary manslaughter?
We find the defendant guilty.
I give the movie credit here. It makes sense that he would be found guilty on the manslaughter charge too. I mean, you could have any result, but this is perfectly reasonable given those facts. That would probably be my guess. I mean, not that matters, but it makes a lot of sense that you would murder one's a bridge too far, but you could get manslaughter on that. But here we go. Finally, he does go away to jail. For a few months. Hank is able to get his father out of jail, and they go out together, and he gets his moment of redemption.
You picked the fellow you work with? I'll choose you.
Well, there you have it. Overall, I kind of liked that movie. It was fun. It did not take itself too seriously. Robert Downey Jr. had a lot of sort of funny lines in it. It does get sappy, and there's a lot of stuff about reconnecting with your family. And of course, there's the awkward subplot, which was not necessary at all, but I guess it was fun to make fun of. So overall, I give it high marks, and especially on the law. Most of the portrayal of the law is really, really good in this movie. Here at Law Talk, we do a lot of videos answering common legal questions. We also do reviews of law in the movie